Elijah Thompson had always been the quiet type, the one who observed the world from the sidelines while his best friend Jake Ramirez stole the spotlight. They met in high school back in suburban Chicago, two misfits bonding over late-night video games and shared dreams of escaping to the big city. Jake was the charismatic Latino kid with an infectious laugh and a knack for trouble, while Elijah was the introspective white boy with a sketchbook full of unspoken thoughts. By the time they both landed in New York City for college, Elijah studying graphic design at NYU, Jake pursuing acting at a community theater program, their friendship had become the anchor in Elijah's chaotic life. New York was a whirlwind. The bustling streets of Manhattan, the endless honking of taxis, the neon lights of Times Square. It all felt like a promise of reinvention. Elijah rented a tiny studio in Brooklyn, walls papered with his artwork, while Jake crashed on friends' couches until he scored a sublet in Queens. They spent weekends exploring the city, grabbing dollar slices in the Village, wandering Central Park, or hitting up dive bars in the East Village where the beer was cheap and the conversations flowed like the Hudson River. But beneath the surface, Elijah harbored a secret. He'd known he was gay since he was 15, but coming out in a conservative Midwest family wasn't an option. Jake was the only one who knew, confessed during a drunken sleepover senior year. "Dude, that's cool," Jake had said, slapping him on the back. "You're still my bro." No judgment, no awkwardness, just unwavering support. It made Elijah fall a little harder, though he buried those feelings deep. Jake was straight, or so he claimed, dating a string of girls who came and went like subway trains. One crisp autumn evening, as leaves crunched underfoot in Prospect Park, Jake dropped the bomb. "I'm thinking of proposing to Sarah," he said, tossing a frisbee that Elijah barely caught. Sarah was his latest girlfriend, a bubbly marketing intern from Ohio. Elijah's stomach twisted. "That's great, man. You sure?" Jake grinned, that dimpled smile that always made Elijah's heart skip. "Yeah, life's short. Gotta lock it down." Elijah forced a smile, but inside, jealousy gnawed at him. That night, they ended up at a rooftop party in Williamsburg, the city skyline glittering like a sea of stars. Booze flowed freely, craft beers, shots of tequila, and soon the world spun in a haze. Jake pulled Elijah aside to the fire escape, away from the crowd. "You okay, Eli? You seem off." "I'm fine," Elijah lied, leaning against the railing. The cool air sobered him just enough to notice Jake's hand lingering on his arm. Their eyes met, and something shifted. Jake's gaze dropped to Elijah's lips. "What if? No one will know," Jake whispered, his voice husky from the alcohol. Before Elijah could process, Jake kissed him. Fierce, urgent, like a dam breaking. Elijah's world exploded. He kissed back, years of pent-up longing pouring out. They stumbled back to Elijah's apartment, clothes shedding like old skins. In the tangled sheets, Jake's hands explored places no one else had, whispering promises in the dark. "This is just us, Eli. No one has to know." It was passionate, raw, everything Elijah had dreamed of. But as dawn broke, reality crashed in. Jake bolted upright, eyes wide with panic. "Shit, what did we do?" He dressed hastily, avoiding Elijah's gaze. "This can't happen again. Sarah. I love her." Elijah sat up, heart pounding. "Jake, wait. We need to talk about this." But Jake was already at the door. "Forget it. Okay? It was a mistake." The door slammed, leaving Elijah alone with the echoes of their night. Days blurred into a fog. Elijah threw himself into work, designing logos for a startup, but his mind replayed every touch, every word. Jake texted sporadically, mundane stuff about auditions or sports, acting like nothing happened. Elijah responded curtly, the unspoken tension building like a storm cloud. Then came the betrayal. Elijah was scrolling through Instagram when he saw it. A photo of Jake and Sarah at a cozy dinner, captioned "Date Night with My Forever." But zoomed in, Elijah spotted a familiar hickey on Jake's neck, one he'd left. His blood boiled. Jake had gone straight from his bed to hers, without a second thought. Confrontation was inevitable. Elijah invited Jake over under the pretense of watching a game. As the Knicks scored on TV, Elijah muted it. "We need to talk about that night." Jake shifted uncomfortably. "Eli, come on. It was just experimenting. I'm not gay." Elijah's voice cracked. Then why did you say no one will know? Why cross that line if it meant nothing? Jake's face hardened. Because I was drunk, okay? And curious. But I'm with Sarah now. Don't ruin this for me. Elijah felt like he'd been slapped. Ruin it? You ruined us, Jake. Our friendship. The argument escalated, voices rising until Jake stormed out again, leaving Elijah in pieces. That night, Elijah wandered the streets, ending up at a gay bar in Hell's Kitchen. The thumping bass and flashing lights were a distraction, but loneliness clung like smoke. He met a guy named Marcus, a kind-eyed bartender who listened as Elijah poured out his heart over whiskey sours. Sounds like he used you, Marcus said gently. You deserve better. For the first time, Elijah felt seen, not as a secret but as himself. But the drama was far from over. Weeks later, Sarah called Elijah out of the blue. I need to talk. About Jake. They met at a coffee shop in Midtown, steam rising from their lattes. Sarah's eyes were red-rimmed. I found texts on his phone. From you. What happened between you two? Elijah's pulse raced. Jake had deleted their messages, but apparently not all. He confessed everything, the words tumbling out like a confession. Sarah listened, tears streaming. He proposed last week, said he loved me, but now, this. Elijah reached across the table. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. As they talked, a bond formed. Two people betrayed by the same man. Sarah broke off the engagement, and Jake's world crumbled. He showed up at Elijah's door, drunk and desperate. You told her? How could you? Elijah stood firm. You crossed the line, Jake, and lied about it. In the ensuing chaos, Jake spiraled, losing auditions, isolating himself. Elijah, meanwhile, started therapy, unpacking years of hidden feelings. He began dating Marcus, tentative steps toward real love. But guilt lingered. Jake had been his rock for so long. One rainy evening, Jake called. I need help, Eli. I'm messed up. Against his better judgment, Elijah met him at their old spot in Central Park. Jake looked broken, rain mixing with tears. I was scared of what I felt for you. I'm bi, I think. But I pushed it away. Hurt everyone. Elijah's anger softened. You can't undo the pain, but you can own it. They talked for hours, rebuilding bridges not as lovers, but as friends who had weathered the storm. The fallout from that Central Park conversation lingered like a New York winter. Cold, unrelenting, but with hints of thaw. Elijah threw himself into his design work, landing a gig at a trendy ad agency in Soho. The office buzzed with creative energy. Exposed brick walls, MacBooks humming, and endless espresso. It was a far cry from the isolation of his apartment, where memories of Jake still haunted the corners. Marcus became a steady presence in Elijah's life. Their first date was simple. A picnic in Washington Square Park, with chess players and street musicians as backdrop. Marcus, with his warm brown skin and easy smile, shared stories of growing up in Harlem, coming out to his family at 18. It wasn't easy, he said, handing Elijah a falafel wrap. But authenticity? That's freedom. Elijah envied that certainty. His own family back in Chicago remained in the dark, phone calls filled with superficial chit-chat. Jake, meanwhile, hit rock bottom. After Sarah left, he moved back in with roommates in Queens, picking up odd jobs, bartending, Uber driving to make ends meet. Auditions dried up, his confidence shattered. He started therapy too, at Elijah's suggestion, delving into his confused sexuality. I thought ignoring it would make it go away, he admitted during a rare coffee meetup. Elijah nodded, sipping his black coffee. It doesn't. Trust me. But old habits die hard. One night, after a particularly grueling session, Jake texted Elijah, Can I come over? Just to talk. Elijah hesitated, glancing at Marcus asleep beside him. Sure, he replied against his gut. Jake arrived disheveled, eyes bloodshot. They sat on the couch, the TV flickering with a muted Yankees game. I miss us, Eli. The way things were. His hand brushed Elijah's knee, intentional. Elijah pulled away. Jake, no. I'm with Marcus now. Jake's face crumpled. But what we had, it was real. The air thickened with tension. Jake leaned in, lips inches away. No one will know, he whispered again, echoing that fateful night. Elijah shoved him back, anger flaring. That's the problem. Always secrets with you. You crossed that line once, and it nearly destroyed me. Jake recoiled, shame washing over him. I'm sorry. I don't know who I am anymore. Elijah softened slightly. Figure it out, Jake, without dragging me down. The incident strained their fragile reconciliation. Elijah confided in Marcus, who was understanding but wary. He sounds toxic. Be careful. Elijah knew he was right, but cutting Jake out felt like amputating a limb. High drama peaked at a mutual friend's wedding in upstate New York. The venue was a rustic barn overlooking the Hudson Valley, string lights twinkling like fireflies. Elijah attended with Marcus, while Jake came solo. Tensions simmered during the ceremony, but exploded at the reception. Liquid courage fueled Jake's outburst. He cornered Elijah on the dance floor, voice slurred. You think you can just move on? After everything? Heads turned. Marcus stepped in. Back off, man. Jake laughed bitterly. Oh, the new boyfriend. Does he know how you looked at me that night? Elijah's face burned. Jake, stop. But Jake didn't. I loved you, Eli. In my messed up way. The room fell silent. Sarah, who was also a guest, watched from afar, her expression a mix of pity and vindication. Elijah dragged Jake outside, the cool night air a shock. You don't get to say that now. Not after the lies, the betrayal. Jake sobbed, collapsing against a tree. I was scared. Of losing you, of being me. Elijah's heart ached. He hugged his friend, the embrace bittersweet. I forgive you, but we can't go back. The wedding became a turning point. Jake checked into a support group for questioning men, slowly embracing his bisexuality. He apologized to Sarah, who, surprisingly, forgave him enough to remain civil. Elijah and Marcus grew closer, their relationship blooming amid the city's chaos. Lazy Sundays in bed, exploring hidden gems like the High Line at sunset. Yet emotional scars lingered. Elijah visited his family for Thanksgiving, the Chicago suburbs blanketed in snow. Over turkey and pie he came out. His parents were stunned, his mom tearing up. We love you, son. Always. It wasn't perfect, awkward questions followed, but it was a start. Back in New York, Christmas lights adorned the streets. Elijah and Jake met for hot chocolate in Bryant Park, the ice rink alive with laughter. I'm seeing someone, Jake said shyly. A guy. From the group. Elijah smiled genuinely. I'm happy for you. Their friendship evolved. Not the intense bond of youth, but something deeper, forged in fire. Elijah realized love wasn't about possession, but growth. As snowflakes fell, he felt peace. But fate had one more twist. Marcus proposed on New Year's Eve, atop the Empire State Building. Will you marry me? Elijah said yes, fireworks exploding over the city. Jake was the first to know. His text simple, congrats, bro. You deserve it. Marriage to Marcus brought a new chapter, one filled with domestic bliss and everyday adventures. They tied the knot in a small ceremony at City Hall, followed by a party in a Brooklyn loft. Friends toasted to their future, Jake among them, his new boyfriend Diego by his side. To love in all its forms, Jake said, raising his glass. Elijah clinked, the past a distant shadow. Life settled into a rhythm. Elijah's career soared. He launched his own freelance studio, specializing in LGBTQ+ branding. Marcus opened a cocktail bar in Chelsea, a cozy spot with rainbow flags and signature drinks. Their apartment in Park Slope became a haven, filled with art, plants, and the aroma of home-cooked meals. But undercurrents of old wounds surfaced. Jake's relationship with Diego flourished, but he confided in Elijah about lingering doubts. What if I'm not ready? During a double date at a jazz club in Harlem, Jake's eyes lingered on Elijah a beat too long. Marcus noticed, tension brewing. The real conflict erupted during Pride Month. New York exploded in color, parades down Fifth Avenue, parties in every borough. Elijah and Marcus marched with friends, flags waving high. Jake joined, but midway through, he pulled Elijah aside near Stonewall Inn. I need to tell you something. His voice trembled. That night, it wasn't a mistake. I loved you then, maybe still do. Elijah's world tilted. Jake, why now? I'm married. Jake's eyes filled with regret. Because seeing you happy, it hurts. I crossed that line because I wanted you, but was too coward to admit it. The confession hung heavy amid the cheers. Elijah stepped back. You can't do this. Not again. Marcus overheard, fury igniting. You've got some nerve. The argument spilled into the street, drawing stares. Jake apologized profusely, but the damage was done. Elijah and Marcus stormed off, the festive mood shattered. At home, they fought. How long has this been going on? Marcus demanded. Elijah swore it was one-sided. He's my past. You're my future. They reconciled in tears, but trust cracked like sidewalk pavement. Jake's betrayal deepened when rumors spread. At a community event, whispers reached Elijah. Jake had been bad-mouthing Marcus, calling him a rebound. It was petty, born of jealousy, but it stung. Elijah confronted Jake at his queen's apartment. Why sabotage us? Jake broke down. I'm lost without you in my life like before. Elijah saw the pattern, Jake's inability to let go, using manipulation to cling. We need space, he said firmly. Jake nodded, defeated. Months passed. Elijah focused on therapy, unpacking codependency. Marcus and he traveled, a road trip to California, surfing in Malibu, hiking Yosemite. The distance healed. Then tragedy struck. Jake's father passed suddenly from a heart attack. Back in Chicago for the funeral, Jake was a wreck. Elijah flew out, Marcus's blessing in tow. At the wake, amid somber suits and casseroles, Jake hugged Elijah tightly. Thanks for coming. No drama, just genuine grief. Helping Jake through it rekindled their platonic bond. Elijah stayed a week, sorting affairs, sharing memories. Dad knew about us, Jake revealed. That night, he suspected, told me to follow my heart. Elijah listened, offering comfort without crossing lines. Back in New York, balance restored. Jake moved forward, his relationship with Diego stabilizing. He came out publicly on social media, a brave step. Elijah commented supportively. The high point came at a charity gala for LGBTQ+ youth. Elijah emceed, sharing his story, the betrayal, the growth. Love isn't perfect, he said, but forgiveness? That's human. Jake attended, applauding loudest. As the night wound down, they shared a quiet moment on the balcony. I'm proud of you, Elijah said. Jake smiled. Ditto. Thanks for not giving up on me. Their friendship, once fractured, emerged stronger. Rooted in honesty, not secrets. Years blurred like subway lines, but the essence remained. Elijah and Marcus celebrated their 5th anniversary with a vow renewal in Central Park, cherry blossoms petals raining like confetti. Friends gathered, including Jake and Diego, now engaged themselves. The ceremony was intimate, vows renewed with deeper meaning. Through storms and sun, Elijah said, eyes locked on Marcus. You're my anchor. Professionally, Elijah's studio thrived, partnering with national campaigns for equality. He mentored young designers, sharing lessons from his journey. Marcus's bar became a community hub, hosting events for queer youth. Life felt full, purposeful. Jake evolved too. He landed a recurring role on a TV drama, playing a bisexual character, art imitating life. Therapeutic, he joked during a group dinner in Little Italy. The 4 of them, Elijah, Marcus, Jake, Diego, formed an unlikely family. Holidays shared, milestones celebrated. But reflections on the past brought introspection. On a quiet evening, Elijah sat on his balcony, overlooking the Brooklyn Bridge. He thought of that fateful night, the whisper no one will know, and how it unraveled everything, only to weave a stronger tapestry. The ultimate test came when Elijah's family visited. His parents, now accepting, met Marcus and Jake. Over barbecue in the backyard, stories flowed. Jake charmed them, but Elijah noticed his mom's knowing glance. Later, she pulled him aside. That Jake. He's special to you, huh? Elijah nodded. Was. But life's about moving forward. The story's climax revisited old wounds during a health scare. Marcus collapsed at the bar, a mild heart episode from stress. In the hospital, Elijah paced, fear gripping him. Jake arrived first, offering support. He's strong. Like you. As Marcus recovered, Elijah realized how far they'd come. No more secrets, just open hearts. In the end, the narrative closed on a humanistic note. At a pride parade years later, Elijah marched with their adopted son, a toddler waving a tiny flag. Marcus held his hand, Jake and Diego nearby with their own family. The crowd cheered, a sea of rainbows. Elijah looked back on the betrayal, the crossed line that changed everything. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but real, messy, redemptive. Pain had birthed growth, turning friends into family, secrets into truths. As fireworks lit the sky, Elijah whispered to Marcus, "No one will know? Nah, everyone should. Love like this deserves the world." And in that moment, amid the vibrant chaos of America's melting pot, they found peace. Not in perfection, but in the humanity of it all.